Hi everyone, it's Lauren, the New Hampshire Stitcher. As you can see by the title of this video, this is my 2023 WIP parade. If you're new to this channel, welcome. This is a channel primarily about cross stitch, sometimes about knitting, reading, other hobbies that I'm working on. Today it is exclusively going to be about cross stitch because it's a WIP parade. I've been trying to decide if I was going to do a WIP parade around this time because I did do one in June of this year, I want to say, and it also was my first video last January. However, I was looking at my list of WIPs from June and I noticed that it is significantly different, my list from June until now. I have finished more things. I'm probably going to UFO or did UFO a couple of things at that time. I have certainly started a lot of things. So I thought it would be a nice way to wrap up the year and get all of my WIPs in one place. Also so I can see them again, because I've actually not really worked on many of my regular WIPs since probably August. So in September, I started the hashtag Back to School sale and started a pretty big project in September, and then immediately launched into stitching autumn. Had a birthday start that was autumn, and then from early to mid-November all the way until like this past couple of days, I've only been stitching holiday. Close to only stitching holiday. So all that to say, I decided to film a WIP parade. I actually threw up a poll on Instagram about whether I should do WIP parade with my 2023 finishes or have a separate video for those. And I ultimately decided I have enough WIPs that this needs to be its own video. I'll post my 2023 finishes in maybe a week or so, and if that's not something you're interested in as compared to WIP parade, that's fine. I know WIP parades are the most exciting thing to watch, I think, this time of year. So I have made myself a cup of tea, being very careful. Let's get started. I've grouped my WIPs, I should say I have 24 WIPs. So as of my WIP parade in June, I had 16. So I have a net increase of 8 WIPs in the past 7-ish months, 6.5 months. And in there also are a lot of things I started and finished from the previous WIP parade, started from this WIP parade. Here we are, 24 WIPs. So I've organized them a little bit. I have a computer here that I'm going to refer to a little as we go through. So I have autumn, I have Christmas/holiday, I have samplers, I have spring/summer, and then other, which is only 3 WIPs, but to me, they don't really fall into any of those categories. So, all right, let's get started. First category is going to be autumn. And the first project I have for autumn is in, I tried to open all of my zippers in advance, so hopefully you won't hear that. But the first project I have for autumn is in the Winds of Autumn book by Blackbird Designs. And I am doing First Winds of Autumn, which is designed as a strawberry. I'm not doing it as a strawberry. I think I'll just finish it in a frame. I've seen a couple people with this framed and I really like how it looks. So that is the chart. And here's where I'm at. Not a huge start. I'm stitching this on 40 count Thesby by Seraphim 1/2. And I have done the outline of the house, a couple of lines, a little bit of the border, and I started the vase on top of the house. I got a little bit ahead of myself. I actually stitched 2023 into the house, so I'm not sure whether I will rip that out or just leave it, because I mean, I started it in 2023 up close. That is WIP number 1. As you can see, the house is like a significant portion of the pattern. The crow is quite large. You can't really even tell with the strawberry, so I have a good amount more stitching to do on this one. Okay. Next up, we have my birthday start, which is Autumn at Hawk Run Hollow. And started this along with my friend Erin Makes on Instagram. Thank you, Erin, for letting me convince you to start enormous projects all the time. And I'm stitching this on 40 count Tephra from Cedar River Linen. And it is a very big piece of linen. That's half of it, for quite a small start. So I should say, I did not iron anything prior to this video, and I'm taking them out of the bags as we go. So hopefully you can bear with me. Here's my start on Autumn at Hawker & Hollow. This is by Carriage House Samplings. Did I say that already? And I am using the Vicki Clayton silk conversion. This is all I have, just the header, not even the whole header. The outline of the header, the outlines of the pumpkins, and I started filling in a bit. And then I did some corn, a leaf, a crow, etc. I worked on this for, I think, like 3-ish days before I started other autumn things. I started probably 4 or 5 autumn starts in a row. Also, I'm sorry if you can see the dust motes floating around me, but I'm taking things out of their bags for the first time in a little while, so kind of unavoidable. So I think, you know, I don't have any firm goals with this. I don't want it to be like a 10-year project, but I have a feeling, you know, if I could get 2 or 3 blocks done every year, I think I would be happy with that. Oh, I should show you the Vicki Clayton silks. They're so pretty. These are just the silks for the header block. There is a big bag of silk for the rest of the blocks in my drawer here, but I don't really want to put them on the floss rings until I'm using them for that particular block. And then every time I'm starting a new block, I'll just switch out the tag with the silks that I need for that one, try to keep them a little nicer. Okay, next up for autumn, we have, let's see, do I have any cover? Okay, I don't have a cover photo for either of these because they're both PDFs. So I'll put the first one here. This is Dark Golden Delicious by the Artsy Housewife. And I'm stitching this on 40 count Flagstone by Seraphim, 1/2. Pretty much anytime I say 40 count, I am stitching 1/2. That's my preferred. Here's my sad start. I think that's coined by Cam the Stitcher. This is my sad start. I've only outlined one of the flower border stars. I'm not exactly sure what they are, and did like a tiny little branch of light blue. And this is one where I think I started it at the tail end of my autumn starts, and then I got distracted by holiday. So I'm very much excited to get back to this. I am using a Roxy Floss Co. conversion, and I have been doing a lot of self conversions with Roxy Floss for holiday and then for some of the other things I've started. So I keep, you know, robbing Peter to pay Paul, like putting my threads in other project bags. And so this currently has like no threads in the project bag with it. But when I get back to it, I will go back and find them and put them in this project bag, and the cycle continues. My other start, it's in the same bag. I, again, don't have the photo, so here it is. This is called Flowers and Friends by Hello from Liz Matthews, and it is one of her Patreon charts. I think it was her September or October Patreon chart. And I am stitching this on 40 count After the Harvest by Be Stitch Me. This was from her Fabric of the Month Club. I think this was a 2021 or 2022 color. It must have been, because I think I canceled at the end of 2022. And see where I got to. I'm stitching this with Called For DMC. I'm assuming Liz will make this available maybe next summer, next fall. Here it is. The fabric in real life has more of a purple tone to it, but as I think a lot of people struggle with, camera always reads purple on screen as gray. and I've outlined most of the house. I started the bottom border, filling in the flowers. The reason that there are threads everywhere on this is because there are a lot of color changes, and it's easier for me to leave hanging threads and then to pick them back up for the next color change than it is to start and stop and start and stop. And normally if it's a relatively light linen, I will start and stop a little bit more than I typically would. I don't mind carrying a little bit on the back, but on this, it's dark enough that I can carry, and it's kind of essential because, like, for example, the little border flowers at the bottom here have like 5 to 6 colors in each of those 12 stitch, 15 stitch motifs. So that is Flowers and Friends. And I think that is all of my autumn stitching. Put that back in. Next up we have holiday stitches. So I have another 4, this time for holiday. First one you have seen, if you watch my videos or if you've watched any of my Flossmas videos, you will have seen more recently. This is the 2023 Evertote Modern Folk Embroidery Roxy Floss Co. Holiday Countdown chart. I don't have a chart to show you because it hasn't been released yet, I think. I'm assuming they're going to release it in January, but here is the floss pack. So every day we were opening a new floss from Roxy. They're gorgeous. There you go. And this is where I'm at. I'm not done. So I have done through day 23. So day 23 was the red heart in the middle and the bird heads. And this is being stitched on 40 count Turtle Dove by Roxy Floss Co., which I think might have been a limited edition for this countdown. And I mean, I really like this. I think it's really pretty. It'll probably be finished before the end of the year. The end of the year is in like 3 days. It'll be finished in January, I would say. I have probably a morning's worth of stitching left on this. But this was really fun to do. Whenever they have pre-orders for next year, probably in February, I do plan on doing the pre-order. So that is my holiday countdown. Then I have 2 projects in this bag. The first of which is Winter Moon. Very exciting. This is by Plum Street Samplers. This is an exclusive kit, I think still only kits, with Country Sampler. And you can find it online. I don't think it's sold out as of the last time I checked or heard, but I am stitching this, or rather it comes on Saltbush linen by Fox and Rabbit, and I got the 40 count kit. I have not done very much on this. I only worked on it for a day, not even like the end of an evening, because throughout the course of December I was doing my Evertote stitching first, which is about 250 stitches a day, and then something else later. So this is all I have done on Winter Moon. Kind of another sad start. Let me show you the flosses though, because they're really pretty. These are the overdyed that came with the kit. The DMC I have yet to put on floss drops, and I haven't used any of the DMC yet. I've only used 3 colors, but these are really pretty. And I talked in one of my Flossmasses about the fact that I chose to start in the bottom middle because I don't love center starting, and that is still true. I don't love center starting, but I'm having some regrets because the bottom is all this very icy blue stars and fence, and I really want to get to some of the fun colors like the trees or the bricks in the house. So whenever I next take this out, which to be quite honest, I'm not sure when that'll be, because I'm feeling New Year's starts and I'm feeling that I want to get back to some of my other WIPs that I haven't worked on in a long time. But whenever I get back to this, I think what I'm going to do is try to, where's the chart? I think I'm going to try to move up to the house. I'm in the middle here, and I think if I can get the door in, I can start working on some of the bricks to the left and the right, and that would be a little more exciting than the bottom, which is very heavy. It's not like some of it is white, it's more icy blues and then white and gray stitching. So that is Winter Moon. And then the other project I have in here is, I don't have a photo, but it's Christmas at Hollyberry Farm. This one is by Stacey Nash Designs, and I've been loving working on this one over the course of December. Haven't gotten like a crazy amount done, but really happy with my progress. This is being stitched on 40 count Ren by Picture This Plus. And here's where I'm at. So I have done, I think, about a third of the border. What did it is? Yeah, I have 11 of them. I think there's like 30 border fronds. Started the alphabet. The house is framed. I started the windows, and I did finish the door and the archway over the door. If you're wondering why half of the windows that I've done look half done, it's because I did a lot of counting so that I could figure out the placement of pretty much every window. And then when I go back in, I can just do some fill in. So now I know the counting of all the windows. So next time I can go in and fill in any of the windows that I choose, or work on the roof, or whatever it might be. Also, I have been remiss in saying this in the past, but I started this and I'm working on this with Jordan, the tattooed stitcher, and she, I think, has done more of the house than me. Like, she started in the bottom left corner, so you should definitely go check out her progress as well. But we've both been having a really good time with this one, and I can, despite it being, you know, Christmas at Hollyberry Farm, I can see myself working on this one throughout the year. This might be something that I pull out for like a 25th of the month kind of a stitch. We'll see. Here's the threads. It's all over dyed. I did make a couple of color changes that I should note. So the pattern calls for mulberry, Gentle Arts mulberry as all the berries. I'm alternating two colors. Neither of them is mulberry. One is Gentle Arts Country Redwood, and one is Classic Colorworks Cherry Cobbler. The Country Redwood on the bottom is a little bit darker and more variegated, and then the Cherry Cobbler is a little bit more of a bright red. So it's very subtle in the stitching itself. I'll show you. It's very subtle. Like, I don't know that you can even read it on camera, but I'm loving the effect in person. Okay. And I have one more Christmas stitch. Excuse my creaky chair. I usually swap out my desk chair for like a wooden chair from the kitchen when I film these videos, just because this one is very creaky. Yes, I can go get WD-40 and put it in, but it's not happening right now. Last holiday one I have is another Stacey Nash, and it is Deck the Coop Pin Keep. A little bit of a reflection because she puts the actual photos on her charts. This one is really fun. I didn't get back to this in the Christmas season when I thought I would, and I just didn't. You always think you have more time and more opportunity to work on many things, and no, I got distracted by Wee Santa and starting Winter Moon and the berries in bloom ornament that I did. So this is where I stand with Deck the Coop. I'm stitching this on 40 count Winter Woolens by Seraphim, and I'm using all the called for over dyed. So far I've finished the border. I think the right side of the border right here has some leaves that I haven't added. I'm working on filling in the bottom. I have the chickens and the vase. And I'll get back to this at some point, I will say, about every project. But I'm kind of at a point with the projects that I have where there's only maybe two or three that I'm just not feeling, and I need to decide whether I'm going to UFO those or see if the mood strikes me to work on them at some point this year. I think that there's probably, we'll get there. There's probably one or two that I may just say I'm done, and then a couple more that I might say if I don't want to pick it up this year, it's out for next year, but it's not doing any harm sitting in my closet right now, other than me mentally thinking about my WIP count going up and up every 6 months. But okay, that's all my holiday. Next up we have samplers, so give me a moment and I'm going to collect myself, and I'll be back with samplers. So in a surprise to maybe no one, I have a lot of samplers. Me 1 second to take a sip of tea. This is my biggest section so far. There are 6 WIPs in this section. First of which is in this, I haven't been saying all the bag names because I've said them in previous videos and WIP parades, and I don't want to be overly repetitive, but this one is one of my favorites. It's kind of like a southwestern vibe, a little bit of like a Wild Wild West vibe. The wagon wheels and the tumbleweeds and the cacti and the saloon. I just think it's really fun. And what's in here doesn't have a southwestern Wild Wild West vibe in any way, but it is Marianne Kopp, 1839, by With That Needle and Thread, or Brenda Gervais. This is an antique reproduction. Can you see that? I hope so. It's pretty, paper's pretty shiny. So I love this. This came out in Market last year, and it came out at the same time as Every Opening Flower, and I've definitely seen way more people stitching Every Opening Flower than this one. However, I love both. I don't think I own Every Opening Flower, so I think I need to get that one at some point, but I wanted to start with this one because I love this border and I love this house. And if you watch Jody Trixie Tricycle, she finished, and she and I stitched it on the same linen, her linen. So I have this 46 count overcast. This is reminding me that I need to buy more of this overcast. I didn't get it in a 40 count. I just got the 46. I typically stitch 40, so I think I might order like a yard of overcast. I like it that much. This is where I'm at with Marianne Kopp. As I said, 46 count overcast by Cedar River Linen. As usual, I have been pillaging my floss rings, so this is a depleted ring, but I started in the top left. I have 4 of the border flowers. I have some of the interior and that urn, and the tiny start of a red dog. I think it's a dog. I'm not really sure, but exciting for me. This is been called for my WIPGO that I'm going to be doing in 2024, probably. Who knows with me, but I did make a WIPGO board. I'll talk about that a little bit at the end of this video, but this was one of my first calls, along with something that I'm forgetting, but I'll talk about at the end of the video because I can look at the calendar then. So that is Marianne Kopp, 1839, and I'm very much looking forward to taking that out in January. I don't think I've had that out since August or maybe even July. It's been a really long time. Last time I had it out, I just did the vase, the yellow flower vase. So, all right. Next up, we have another With Thy Needle and Thread chart. So let me find the front cover. This one is At Home. So I had long coveted this chart. It was an exclusive for a year. It came out last summer and I got it, I think in July, and it started it pretty much immediately. And I am stitching this on 40 count Sandcastle linen. And what side did I have it here? Sandcastle linen with all of the called for threads. They are mostly Weeks and DMC. Very like neutral palette, but then a couple of these bright peachy and aqua colors. It's really fun. Here's my progress on At Home. I've done most of the left side border. I believe down here where my border ends, I think that's the bottom corner is what I did. So I have got a lot of that filled in, and then I started on that huge section of trees. This fencing and, did I make that flatter? I didn't iron, sorry. The fencing and the stepped grass is very, it took a lot of stitching. So I've probably worked on this 2 or 3 sessions for 3 days each, I want to say. I could just be making that up. It's not really reading on camera right now, and it is kind of a dark day. This sandcastle color from Color and Cotton is a very pretty peachy neutral. Like it's a tan with a real peach hue to it, which I feel like I don't see that much in neutrals. I think a lot of the neutrals I have lean brown or cream or gray or pink. And so this is, I find it to be pretty unique, and I'm not sure if it's part of her permanent line, but if it is, then I definitely would recommend it. Also, how fun is this bag? It's the Teresa Kogut fabric. I had another one too with Deck the Coop. And I keep buying, I haven't in a while, but for a while there I kept buying fabric thinking I'm going to sew more and quilt more. And the reality is just that I only have so much time, and if it brings me joy to have a project bag purchased from Etsy or whatever, then I'm going to just do that so that I can at least enjoy the fabric and it's not sitting in my closet never to be touched. Not to say that people shouldn't have a lot of fabric, but like I personally know thyself, and my sewing machine is currently covered in cross-stitch smalls that haven't been finished into pillows, ornaments, what have you. Next up, I have my Back to School project. So let me find the cover photo. Again, this was a stitch along that I started in September. Lots of folks joined along, which was really fun. I have not gotten this back out since September. So if you have not touched your Back to School in 4 months, we are the same. I chose to start 3 Things Sampler by Moira Blackburn. This is a very hard to see cover image, and I never would have gone on 123 Stitch or another site and just picked this for myself if I had not seen it being stitched / finished. So in terms of being stitched, a couple different folks are stitching it on Instagram, and Emily C on FlossTube did a house tour and shared a finished framed version of it in her house tour. She did a much moodier palette, which looks so fun, and I chose to go with actually a slightly brightened up version of the palette because I'm using the Vicki Clayton Silks. I'm gonna pause for a second while I take them out of this plastic bag. Okay, so I'm using the Vicki Clayton Silks, which I had it in a plastic bag because I haven't touched this in a while and I wanted them to stay nice. But here is the palette. I think I got this from a little charm from like Lady Dot, but beautiful, beautiful colors. And I am stitching this on 46 count linen, again from Cedar River Linen. This is Albarium. This previous one was Overcast, a little more like dirty, mottled. This one is very much a cream linen. Apparently I have some hanging threads. But here's where I've gotten on 3 Things Sampler. And I think that this is technically like, this top section I think is pretty much the first page. There might be a little bit more. Started bringing this border down and then put it away for the moment. Stitching on 46 count it's a little bit challenging for me. Eyesight wise, it's okay. It's more the holes are just very small, and a couple people in one of the videos where I was talking about this had recommended using a size 10 beading needle, and I did. I bought those and started using them, and then I kept stabbing myself in the finger, so the pain and potential for blood on my work was not working for me. I know I probably could have used a thimble or something, but that just felt like a lot of effort for me. So I'm back to using size 28 tapestry needle. It's just a little bit slower going for me. So I don't know that I'll do this in like huge spurts, full page spurts. However, I am still glad that I chose the 46 count because this is huge and it won't be quite as big in the framing process if I use the 46. Okay. Next up we have, one of my newer starts. So this is Teresa Kogut, Come to the Garden. I just started this in November for Cross Stitch Kate's birthday. Was it December? I honestly don't even know when I started this, but for Caitlin's birthday. And I've had this in my stash for about a year. I've wanted to start it, but didn't really have a reason, not that you need a reason. And I decided, why not? So I am stitching this on 40 count Love Letter by Color and Cotton. The called for palette is what I'm using, and it's really pretty mix of pinks and reds and greens. There's a couple blues worked in there. My start is minimal, but that is okay. So I started the exterior border and almost finished one of the exterior border flowers, and then began working on that little interior triangular border. So not a huge amount done yet, but I'll certainly get back to that one. I think that's everything I have to say for now about Come to the Garden. Oh, actually, I want to say I really like these books. I feel like not many designers do this, and I find it really helpful. I think some people might not love it because once you get to the point where there's 4 pages matching up in one corner, I can see how you'd be flipping back and forth a lot. But for the moment, I really like it. We'll see how I feel in 6 months. Next we have, I don't have a cover photo, so this is There's a Priscilla Dawes by Hemlock and Rye, which is, the designer is Julie, Kansas City Girl in a Colorado World. And I'm stitching this on 40 count Nantucket from Color and Cotton. Get this out. Honestly, Thurza deserves better from me. I did not work on Thurza since, or I have not worked on Thurza since March. I started a March Madness bracket this year and failed within like a week. I just wanted to work on what I wanted to work on. But here's where I'm at on Thurza. The border outline is complete. I still need to add the rest of the flowers and leaves, like the buds around the edge. And I've been working my way down the first and third pages down the left side. I'm using all the called for DMC for this. Again, they're not in the bag because I've been pilfering them. And also it's a huge number of DMC. I think it's like 30 or 35 DMC. So when they are in the bag, it's a huge ring. I absolutely need to get Thurza done. It's just, when it came out in May 2022, I don't know, Julie, if you're watching, let me know. I immediately went out and kitted it and started it, and I haven't been doing it that much, and I think it's because of maybe the color changes, so I need to find a little groove with this. Maybe I'll try to finish the border next time I work on it, and then go from there. Okay, one more sampler. Another one I have not been working on. This is Rejoice Evermore by With a Needle and Thread. Absolutely beautiful. I love it so much. If you've been watching me for a while, I was having problems with this because I started too close to the edges, so my margins were small, and I will need to sew or baste some kind of linen onto the edges to make this work. And 2, the mustard seed that's called for, I think it's, Gentle Arts mustard seed. The skeins that I got just felt way too yellow. And okay, I'll show you. I know it doesn't read as yellow on camera, but it really bothers me in person. I've decided to use Weeks Dye Works Olive instead, but that means I need to rip out all of the mustard seed that I already have in there, which is kind of a lot. So those 2 things have really prevented me from picking this back up, which is unfortunate because it's so beautiful. And I guess I now have 3 enormous With a Needle and Thread samplers on the go, but I know I'll finish all of them at some point. I think I might need to make myself a wager or, you know, compromise with myself and say, you need to take this out and work on it. And like every time you work on it, rip out a lengths worth of the mustard seed. And then I can go back at the end and add the mustard seed or add the olive so that I ultimately have an equal finished piece. So when I first got this, and first the colors are so pretty, but these birds, I can't wait to get to the birds and that brick house. So again, this one's going to be on my WIPGO. Everything actually that you've seen is on my WIPGO with the exception of one thing I haven't gotten to yet because I'm probably going to finish it in the next couple days. So I don't think this is on my January WIPGO. I'm really forgetting. Now it's going to bother me. What is my other January WIPGO? Oh, okay. We haven't gotten there yet. It's Summer Quaker, but I think that's everything for my samplers. Next up is my spring summer section, which is, I guess, my biggest section with 7 WIPs. So I will be right back with those. Okay, so the first thing that I've been working on in my spring summer section is Sun Soaked by Hello from Liz Matthews. I'll put a photo here. This is a PDF because it was again from Liz's Patreon, came out in June, I want to say. And it's DMC. I happen to have the fabric in my stash, so that was easy. I had not done a whole lot of it since June. So prior to now, or prior to December, I had done the border and the vase, and I think I had started the middle flower. So since I took it out for Caroline, I need to back up a little bit. Caroline from Off the Grid / Evertote put a thing on Instagram the other day that was like, pick up a project for 10 minutes a day. So 10 minutes a day keeps the WIP in play, and pick something that you might not otherwise work on that you want to keep in play. I picked this because it's a small, it felt pretty achievable to come up as a finish. And since I picked it up a couple weeks ago, again, 10 minutes a day, I've finished the middle flower, finished the other 2 flowers, and then started putting in the little stars, petals around the edges. I have not yet done my 10 minutes today, but I will do so later. And I'm stitching this with DMC on 40 count eucalyptus from Box and Rabbit, which, as I mentioned, is the call for. That's my first spring summer. The next one, I don't even know why I'm showing you this, but it exists. So here it is. This is Seasons of the Heart Summer by the Blue Flower. And I have had a measly start on this for a year and a half. So this spring / summer, this has to get done. This is, I'm stitching this on Be Stitch Me 40 count Frost, which is an absolutely lovely sky blue. And this is my little start. I only have a corner, 2 blossoms, a bee, and a little bit of the heart. And this is all DMC that are not in the bag. And I have now finished Blue Flower Seasons of the Heart, spring and autumn. So I do want to do summer and winter, and I will, but that's where I'm at right now. And it will stay that way probably at least for another couple of months. Sorry about that noise. Next up, we have another project that I have not touched in far too long, that I don't have a photo for. This is Ocean Blue Stocking Sampler by Kathy Barrick. And I say stocking sampler because it originally came out as a stocking, traditional stocking shape. She recharted it to also be a sampler, which is like a narrow version of the charted stocking, or sorry, a straight up and down version. And that is what I'm doing. So this is all DMC that I do have. And I'm stitching this on 40 count, I'm going to say Spectre, Lunar by Be Stitch Me. And I have not worked on this in a year and a half. So this is where I'm at. I started this on my honeymoon in May 2022. That is the only stitching time that I've had with it. So I worked on it for about a week, and that's where I'm at. I did sub out a couple threads in here. So my black is not the DMC black. It is Roxy Flosco Charcoal, I think. And the white is Roxy Flosco Legendary. Looking at this now, I'm not sure why I never work on this because I really like it. And I really like the colors. How fun. There's all the fish and the whale to get to. I think what stopped me up, and I've probably said this before, is that this whole section is filling in clouds and then ships with white sails. So clearly I need to just get myself down to the bottom of one of the ships and then start working on maybe some of the sea creatures while I fill in the clouds and the ships. Okay. Next we have my other January WIPGO call. This is, as I said, Summer Quaker by Leela Studio. Autumn Quaker, or I don't think she's calling it Autumn Quaker, it's Autumn is as Joyful, just came out, and I'll be starting that on New Year's Eve. But Summer Quaker came out earlier this year, and I started it, I think I started it on the 4th of July. This is my holiday start for the 4th. I'm stitching this on 40 count Renaissance by Color and Cotton. I was planning on using the Color and Cotton Sandcastle that I used for at home, just because Summer Quaker, it's like a beach scene sandcastle, but it just, the color wasn't right. The peach wasn't right for the color palette. So here's where I'm at on my Summer Quaker. I've done quite a bit. I did the entire left side and top, just started the bottom and the right side border. I have not done any of the middle, which is the most stitch heavy part. It's essentially full coverage, and that was kind of intentional. I was thinking I would start the middle at some point, but I really want to frame out the green waves that go around the middle and make sure that my counting is correct before I start putting in any substantial amount of full coverage stitching. I love this so much. Every motif is different and fun. I think my favorite so far is probably, let me fold this in half. My favorite so far is probably either the crabs at the top here or this compass. Too fun. And the crab, the blue crab above the compass. It's really fun as well. It's my phone. I don't know if it's zooming in properly. So really, really looking forward to getting this one out. Even though it's January, I honestly don't care. I'm pretty much done with Christmas stitching at this point, or holiday stitching. That's, I think I've said this before, that's my problem with Christmas, holiday, winter stitching. If I don't do it in November, December, I don't do it at all, because once Christmas is over, it's not that I don't want to stitch Christmas. I don't even want to stitch winter. And that's unfortunate because winter just started 10 days ago. No, 6 days ago. I can't count, but that is where I'm at. Summer Quaker. Next up, we have kind of a unicorn for me, and a very lovely stitcher let me borrow this chart. So I've probably already had it a little bit longer than I should. I need to get back to it. This is Quaker Garden by Blackbird Designs, and I absolutely love it. I want to frame it just like this in a dark wood frame. We are currently in the process of, I shouldn't say redecorating, decorating our bedroom. We bought our house 2.5 years ago, and there's just still a lot to do. I have yet to really fully decorate the bedroom. We just ordered furniture, new furniture for it, and I want to get some things framed. So I know already in the bedroom I want Consider the Lilies somewhere. I want this somewhere. And then there's a couple other finishes I have that I'm thinking about where I might want them to be. But all that to say, I want to get this done. I love the palette. It is very me. I tend to go with these, super neutral, grungy, earthy colors. And then just to have like the pop of pink and white. Love. So I'm stitching this on 40 count Tuscan by Color and Cotton. Ooh, there's like a really big crease in this one. Called for threads. There's only 5 threads in this entire chart, and yet it looks so lovely and detailed. Here is my start. This is, I think, just shy of half of the chart. If I had finished that middle motif, I would be at 50% or a little bit over 50%, I believe. So loving this, and it's on my WIPGO board. I don't know why I'm even saying that because they're all on there, but I'm hoping it comes up on the early side. If it doesn't come up on the early side, I might just work on it anyway. As with any of my projects, if I want to work on them, I'm just going to. I'm not going to wait for WIPGO, but I love that. So thank you, Michelle, for allowing me to borrow this and stitch it. I really appreciate it. And hopefully in the future, if I am holding on to unicorns for anyone, or if I have purchased and have any charts that are someone else's unicorn, I might be able to let them borrow as well. Next we have, actually this is one of my favorite project bags from Joanna 1966 on Etsy. This is, if I can find a photo for it, Garden Sampler by Carriage House Samplings. And this is so fun and bright. I got this one last summer, something like that. And I decided, even though the model is stitched on like a neutral color, I decided I wanted to stitch it on blue. So this is on 40 Count Ocean by Fox and Rabbit. And I am closing in on a finish for this one. I think I'm allowed to say that. I have less than 25% left. This is a Roxy floss conversion, and it is really fun. I worked on the left side first all the way to the bottom, and I did a little bit of the patch of earth at the bottom so I could move over to N and work my way up the rest of the alphabet. I don't just have this top corner to do. I also have like a pretty good section of earth, or like the hill at the bottom to do. You can kind of see here. So I'm not, I'm not going to be able to finish this in like 2 days or anything, but I am really excited to get this one done so that I can get it up in my kitchen. So on another decorating note, I've already decided the sort of things I want to put up in my kitchen. This is one of them. My Home in the Garden that I finished earlier this year is another one of them. And then there's something, I'm forgetting what the third one is, but kitchen wise, I want to have like the really bright, fun things up there, and then the more neutral options in our bedroom, and then in the living room, TBD. I say all of this having not told my husband that I want to put cross stitch literally everywhere, but he's a very good sport, and we already have quite a bit of cross stitch on the walls, like in the hallway, so I'm sure he won't mind. Okay. Last one in this section, and then we just have a little bit more to go, is The Gentle Rain by the Blue Flower. So I started this with Cross Stitch Caitlin and Bridgen, Museum Stitcher in April, I want to say. I'm just looking for my chart and it appears I don't have a cover photo. So here's a cover photo of Gentle Rain by the Blue Flower. Anyway, my friends Kate and Bridget and I decided, let's start this. I think Kate already had started it. She has since finished, and I am stitching mine on 40 Count Dusty Road by Seraphim. I'm gonna find my work. That's how little I've done. I'm using all the called for, and I sadly have not touched this since April. I only worked on this one time. When I say one time, I mean like 3 days, and then not since. So that is too bad. I think my hang up with this one might be the fabric. I feel like it might be too light for some of the whites and the light pinks that are on here, which is making me not want to work on it. So I need to decide if I want to continue with these colors and see if it looks better once I have more of the branches and leaves and like stronger contrast colors in, or if I want to choose a different fabric and then potentially restart this at a later time. So this is one of those ones I mentioned that I'm like not entirely sure that I want to keep going with at the moment. Okay. That is everything for spring summer. We have one more section, my other section of 3 things. So I'll be right back with those. First up in my other section is technically a seasonal stitch, but it's 4 seasons. And it is my Plum Street Samplers seasonal salt boxes. Well, they're not called that. They're called the Salt Shakers series. And then there's spring, summer, autumn, winter salt boxes. I have done in their entirety spring and autumn, and I have not done winter or summer. So I'm stitching these on 40 count Barley by Color and Cotton, really using up all my Color and Cotton from when I was in their monthly club, which I removed myself from maybe over the summer. I was on the 40 count monthly club. I have regrets because I will probably never get back in, and now I want more. So here are my finished salt shakers thus far. As you can see, I took the white border down to just account for where the summer ones are going to be, and then winter will be at the bottom. I expect that I'll start at least one of the winter ones at some point in January, even though I'm not wild about the idea of stitching winter anymore. But if the mood strikes to stitch something a little more snowy, I think I'll probably choose this versus something that is more traditionally Christmas. That has a different set of threads with every season. I have not yet pulled the winter threads, and the summer threads got put away after I didn't work on it this summer. Next up, we have something that I don't have a photo for, The New Normal by Long Dog Samplers. And I am stitching this on 40 count Vintage by Be Stitch Me. And what I'm using for this is one color, is DMC 3750, just like a beautiful royal blue, deep blue color, very much a jewel tone. And this is exactly where it was when you saw it in my first WIP parade and my mid-year WIP parade, and now I have not done more. So I'm starting Pandemic on New Year's Day. I don't know what I'm thinking, considering I haven't worked on this in a year, but I'm going to do it anyway. I'm not ready to UFO this because I do really love the chart. I did download Markup RXP in the past couple of months, and previously I was trying to stitch this using a printed version of a PDF, which I think is a suboptimal way to stitch a long dog. So I'm going to try to import it into Markup RXP and see if that helps me. And if that gets me through the first couple of pages or whatever of Pandemic, then I will use it for this as well. And my very last WIP to show you is a brand new start as of last week, probably like Wednesday. It was the day before I left for New York for Christmas. And it is The Artsy Housewife, Coffee and Eggs. I've been wanting to start this one for months, and I finally just said, why not? Let's do it. So I'm stitching this on a piece of 40 count Heartland by Picture This Plus. I'm using a Roxy floss conversion, which I'll speak more about in a minute, but here's my progress. I've done most of the rainbow at the top. I finished the branch. I have a couple more leaves to add in, and then I started the little lady with her eggs. Been working on this for a couple of days. I didn't stitch from last Thursday, December, whatever that was, 21st, until this past Tuesday when we got back. And then I've just been working on this for the past couple of days and really, really enjoying it. I love the colors. This is one that I would like to put in my kitchen as well. It's like perfect for a kitchen. It has eggs and coffee, as the name says, and I love that chicken. Super fun. What I wanted to say about the threads is that I did get the Roxy Floss conversion, but I made a number of changes. So I did not change the red. There is an orange in the pattern that the Roxy called for is craisins. I felt that was a little bit too pinky red for what I wanted and for what the pattern looked like. So I went with Roxy Floss Rhymes with Orange, which is still kind of darker than what's shown in the pattern, but I'm enjoying how it looks so far. So I think I'm going to keep going with it. I also felt that the two Roxy flosses that were the greens for the leaves were a little bit more muted and prim than what I wanted or what the chart called for. So I'm using Roxy Floss Peridot, which was not in the list, and Weeks Dye Works Monkey Grass, which I don't ever really see being used, and I love it. It's like a very, very pretty grass green. I did not change the browns. I did change the woman's hair because I wanted it to be more like mine, so I'm using Chocolate Ganache for the hair. And I think the only other change I made was the pink. The called for was Pinky Promise, and I'm using On Point, which is from this year's holiday countdown, for a little bit of a more saturated pink look. So that brings me to the end of my WIPs. That is everything. I think I covered off on all of the fabric, all the conversions that I'm using. Mostly I use called for, and then sometimes Vicky Clayton silks, sometimes Roxy Floss conversions. Occasionally I'll switch out colors as I just did. And okay, WIPGO. As I mentioned, attempting to do WIPGO for 2024. I have my board built out. I'll put a little picture of it here with what's on my board, including the called for January, which is Marianne Kopp, 1839, and Summer Quaker. In addition to working on those in January, over the coming week, I'll be starting Autumn is as Joyful by Leila's Studio, A Study in Nature by The Artsy Housewife, and Pandemic by Long Talk Samplers. So I will probably start Autumn Quaker, Autumn is as Joyful, and Study in Nature like tomorrow, Saturday the 30th, and on New Year's Eve. And then Pandemic, I think, will be my New Year's Day start, and I will likely work on a selection of those throughout the course of January, in addition to my WIPGO. I would like to finish something in January. You'll see in my finish parade that I did finish 17 things this year, which feels like a lot, but also probably 13 or 14 of them were finished by July. So really the second half of the year, I was just on a starting rampage, which has been really fun and is fine. Not a big deal, but I would like to get a couple things done, like Quaker Garden Sampler, some of the things that feel a little bit more like they're right on the cusp of a finish if I took them out a couple more times. So who knows what I'll do in January. I think, it's good to have goals, but I'm I am the type of person that if I set goals for myself and I don't achieve them, I feel as though I have failed. And I don't think that's like an appropriate way of thinking about this hobby. It's supposed to be something relaxing and enjoyable for me. And I can have high expectations for myself in other aspects of my life. I don't need it to carry over to cross stitch. So I'm trying not to get on myself about the fact that I've added like 33% to my WIP count in the past 6 months. And over the course of the next year, I think, maybe that'll come down a little bit, I hope. And I'm very excited for the plans I have in the new year, as well as the club that I joined from Lindy Stitches, her Endangered Species Club. That'll be coming in January. So lots of good things to come. I hope that you've enjoyed this WIP parade. And if you are so inclined, I hope maybe you'll consider watching the finish parade that I film in the next week or two. If not, I will be back for a regular floss tube sometime in January. I'm not exactly sure when. And I hope that you all have a wonderful day. Thank you.